So what I'm gonna talk today is about the slave life and the slave culture. The slave life, which contributed to the slave culture because of the way they lived. The slave culture created that. The slave lives were not very good. They were treated very badly, and they had a very painful work. They didn't have freedom, voice, or respect. They lived and worked in a plantation, and some days they worked more than 10 hours for 6 days a week, all year round. And when harvesting time came, they had to work 15 to 16 hours a day. And the slave owners used positive incentive as well as harsh penalties, meaning like if they worked good yesterday, the owner will be like, okay, because of your work, because you worked good yesterday, on today you only have to work, I don't know, 6 hours. But if they did not work, they will use chains and shackles to punish them. And many of the families were separated because the owners just cared for their financial gain. And by 1815, 4,000 enslaved people lived in urban areas, meaning that the slavery was a little bit more open, and they could have worked on what they were good at. But even like if they sold anything, they still had to give some of their profit to their owners. And because of this, their slaves, the slaves wrote songs to make their working a little bit more friendly and a little bit more peaceful. And one of the songs that came up with this was Roll Jordan Roll. You may have heard this song in the movie 12 Years of Slavery. Religion played a really big role in the life of slave because some slaves created their own religion and they had their own preachers and religious services. Most of the slave owners turned a blind eye to the religious activity, meaning they knew that it was happening, but they were cool with it. And sometimes they made up stories to tell their kids so that they will know where their identity came from. And some stories were animals that had no authority, slaves, but they were very intelligent and they achieved very good things.